Hey, I'm Kalash and I make cool stuff. All of my books are the same size, so I'll measure one and make my fake book the same size. I'm using foam core boards that I'm texturing with foil. I was originally going to use cardboard, but I realized it will be easier to get nice texture into foam. The sides get squished with a ruler to mimic pages. Then I'll glue everything together with hot glue. I was going for a leather texture, but I didn't want it to be a boring brown, so I painted it blue instead, and then went over it with a lighter blue dry brush. I want the book to look a bit older and used, so I'm painting the pages with a bone white and then applying a brown wash. It ended up looking a bit too dark, so I cleaned it up with the bone white. I made the back a little too thin, so I added 2 foam pieces where I'll attach the hinges later. To protect the paint, I went over everything with a layer of matte Mod Podge. Then I drew Alice's portrait that I'll put on the cover. I'm horrible at drawing, so I took a face and arm from other works so she doesn't end up looking like Shrek. I added colors and also shadows and highlights to all of them, but it ended up pretty useless because they wash out in later steps. To make it look nicer, I went over the background with a leaf brush. Printed it out and stained the paper with tea. It was a bit too light, so I went over it with coffee as well. I'm using polymer clay to make a frame around the picture. I wanted to do this with homemade paste clay, but I don't have a microwave, so it didn't turn out right. But I really want to try using it in the future. I also made the book's title out of polymer clay. The frame and letters get covered in black paint. Then I went over them with a sponge and gold paint. I glued down the letters with matte Mod Podge. And did the same with the portrait. The sides were a little plain looking, so I made details for those too. Then I formatted some text from the book, printed it out, and stained it as well. That got glued down on the other side of the cover. I stole the hinges from a wooden box. I won't use the real screws though, but make fake clay ones instead. I wanted to glue them on with 2-part epoxy glue, but turns out I don't have any. So I secured them in place with Mod Podge for now, and will reglue them better when I get new glue. Now it's time to make the inside of the book. I made a simple round tray shape and baked it. Then added more clay to the side that I can smush into a rounder shape. And of course other details to make it look like a stopwatch. I made a clay chain that I attached to the watch. I'm very bad at making faces, and that includes animals as well. I usually start with a face-shaped blob and then slowly add features that hopefully look right in the end. The rabbit accidentally turned out a bit angry looking, but he probably just knows that one of you is procrastinating right now. You know who you are. I made him his shirt and scarf. I'm making the rabbit based on how he looks in the newer movie because I like that one the best. After I was done sculpting, I drew in fur details. The plastic helps with the lines not having rough edges. I attached his head to the body and baked them separately from the watch. To make the background more interesting, I glued down some metal gears. The watch got painted black and then dabbed with gold paint. I wanted it to look messy and old. And I went over the gears with bronze color as well. I painted his shirt blue. He has delicate sewing on his collars, but I don't have any good small brushes, so I just drew on some messy lines. Painted the gray a different gray, and added dots to his scarf. I thought he would get cuter after painting, but he was still just as angry looking. I couldn't decide if his eyes are red or brown, so I used both. The eyes get a gloss varnish, and he's done. He gets glued into the watch with super glue, and I can move on to making too many small leaves. And also a few roses. Those got painted white and red. I mixed together snow texture paste and green paint. I don't have any flocking, so I'll have to make do with this green sludge as my bushes. I put in all of the roses and also the leaves to help with it looking more like a forest rather than toxic waste. And that's it. Thank you to the wonderful people who support me on Patreon, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!